Hey guys, today we are tying the Hell Hound. As this guy right here. It is my rendition of Rainey's pattern. I scaled it back to a size 2. Theirs is a 2/0. On theirs they put their little fly tail on a little shank that sits back behind the fly. What I found with fishing those patterns is that usually what ends up happening, to me at least, is the bass will come up and hit that tail and just rip it off. But not always, but in a lot of cases. So for that reason I just put it on the shank, put lots of legs on there. But basically that's my version of the devil dog. I'll walk you through the materials and how to tie this guy. Alright, so let's go through the materials on this dude. So first things first, Gamakatsu B10S size 2, good hook. Eyes I'm using Spirit River, what is that, 7/32 nickel eyes in red. You can do whatever color you want here, but I chose red. For a little bit of additional weight, I'm using these hairline scud bodies in a size medium or small. This time I'm using small. They're meant to be a standalone thing on a hook as a scud pattern, obviously, but they're tungsten, so I found that on the hook itself they actually add a good bit of weight without adding a lot of bulk or mass that you'd get from like lead-free wire or lead wire. Next, what we're going to use for the tail, I'm using these fly tails from Wapsi. This is size small, pumpkin and black. Legs I'm using from Hairline, fly enhancer orange, pumpkin yellow. I'm using some schlappen in this as well from Nature's Spirit, just brown. And this is of the 4.5 to 6.5 inch variety. I'm using some UV Chenille as well from Hairline, some copper rusty Chenille. And last but not least, I'm using this brush, this EP brush in this crayfish color. It's 3 inches wide. You might be saying to yourself, that's huge. And yeah, it is pretty wide, but I like that 3-inch wide because then I can kind of come in and trim it back to however I want it to fish. Some cases it turns out just perfect. In this case, in this fly, I didn't really have to trim much. I liked it the way it was, so it all just depends. But first things first, what I'm going to do is go ahead and put on my tail. And I like it to sit as far back as I possibly can with it being secured on. So I will put it on just right over the top of that scud body. And also on that scud body and the eyes here, I'm using my favorite head cement, which is JB Super Weld. Stuff's awesome. It is incredibly sticky. It dries really fast, so keep that in mind if you tie with it. Oh. Doing some loose wraps here just to get this situated where I like it. And again, I kind of like to go all the way back behind that scud body. I'll wrap this dude up. The thread, forgot to mention the thread, I am using GSP 75 in this rusty orange color. And the only downside to it is, I don't know if you can see that, but it makes your fingers pretty dang orange. But it's awesome thread, really strong, and I like the color of it. So once we've got our tail on, the next step is to put on our twist, which in this case is going to be a piece of our schlappen and some of our Polar Chenille. So I'm going to go in here, select a feather that's relatively short, but thick enough that it's going to spin up nice. That's the thing I like about Nature's Spirit. They've got a pretty good amount of really good feathers per pack. Some of the other varieties that you pick up have a lot of drop, stuff that's just unusable. I'm gonna go with this dude. So I'm gonna grab this feather. I'm tying in by the thread here, or the tip rather. So I'm gonna rip off this under fiber that I don't want. Oops. Grab a different one. So again, I'm gonna peel out this under fiber that I don't want. I'm just going to grab these fibers, pull them back, so they lay out parallel to each other like a set of fingers. If it's not exactly perfect, then you can kind of fix it up when you go to comb this guy out. So I'm going to secure down that feather. Broke my tip. I'm going to grab another feather here. That's tying, I guess. Happens sometimes. Alright, back on track. If it doesn't completely cover that scud body, that's okay, because we're going to have a good bit of that brush that's going to come back and cover it up. Now I'm going to go in and grab a piece of my Polar Chenille. I'm going to measure this out to be about the length of my feather. Just tying in the tips here. I'm going to work my bobbin forward, do a half hitch just in front of that scud body, because that's where I'm going to stop. Oh. I'll do another one here. That's where I'm going to stop, and then pick back up again and put on our next material. Another thing I'm going to use in this case are these Loon Gator grip jaws. They're awesome for spinning up materials, which is what I'm going to do now on our next step. So I want to make sure that those fingers are out, or that those fibers on those feathers are laying out like a set of fingers, like I said. If it's not perfect, I can comb it later, but you want to start off on the right foot, of course. So I grab it with my gator jaws and I just spin that up. It's really easy to break the feather, so just be careful how much tension you're putting on. Like I said, I'm going to come through and comb this out. I spin it just a tad more. But what I'm looking for here is for those fibers to flare out on all sides. And I want pretty equal distribution of schlappen and Polar Chenille, which it looks like I've achieved. Pretty happy with the way that looks. I'm just going to palmer this forward over the top of our scud body. Once I've got that covered, I can set that down, set the gator jaws down, come over with my bobbin and secure that down a couple times, once, twice, 3 times. That looks pretty good to me. Cut that dude free, being careful not to cut any of my fibers as much as possible, and without cutting my thread, of course. Make a couple more wraps over the top just to make sure that's all secured down good. So you should be left with something that looks like that. Now what we're going to do is tie on our legs. So in this case, I like to put on as many legs as possible without it being, totally ridiculous. Because what I found, and what I'm sure most people tell you, is in bass flies, more movement is better. So that's why I'm grabbing 4 strands of legs here. Should look like that. To tie these in, I'm just going to double them over my thread. Oop, if I don't drop it, drink too much coffee, I'm all jittery. I'm going to grab both my ends of my legs here over my tying thread. I'm going to just park it on top of the fly there and go over the top of this. To ensure I get some distribution on both sides, I just kind of split it. Go back over a couple times. Now what I'm going to put on is my brush. I just take out an entire length of this brush. This one I've already used partially. That's going to be more than enough, I'm sure, but I just take out a whole length of that brush rather than try to guess and cut it to the size I think it might be, because what's going to end up happening is you're going to have either not enough or too much, and the too much part of it will probably be too short to use for anything else. So I just grab the whole brush, secure it down by the little wire tip. I really secure this stuff down, but I love these brushes for a number of reasons. One, they just look cool. They've got tons of movement in the water, and they're super strong. They're unbelievably strong, and they look good fly after, or fish after fish. So now I've worked over the eyes. I'm going to put in a half hitch there up towards the eye of the hook. Park my bodkin, or my bobbin rather. I'm just going to palmer this stuff forward. And again, if I get some of this trapped, I can just kind of try to work it back with my fingers, and I can comb this stuff out pretty good too. I'm going to do like 3 turns behind the eyes. I might comb some of this while I'm at it, see what it's looking like. If you want to do more, do more. If you want to do less, do less. But 3 is probably good. I think that one's actually number 4. I'm going to go over the eyes one way, back over the eyes that way, and then I'm going to go in front of the eyes a couple turns. I'm going to park that for now, come over and secure that guy down. I'll grab some scissors that are already dull. I use these for cutting wire, so I'm just going to grab this and cut it free. See what I mean? They're pretty dang dull. You don't want to use your good tying scissors because it will make them dull in a hurry cutting that stuff. So I'm going to come in front of this stuff, secure it down, get ready to whip. Alright, I'm going to whip finish this guy. Once, twice, 3 times. I'll do another one on this. On my bass flies I always do 2 whip finishes. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but there's a mad kid in the background. Holy cow. I'm going to come through and just comb this out. Picking out any of those fibers that got trapped. You don't have to be gentle with this. Like I said, those EP brushes are strong. Oh, I also forgot to trim my legs. I'm going to pull my tail back to the length as far as it will go. And then I want my legs to end up being just a little bit shorter than that. And I like them to have a variable length, so I take my scissors at an angle, snip them. Should look something like that. Now you can finish this with some head cement. You can finish it with some UV if you wanted to. In this case, I'm probably just going to go with JB Super Weld. Wick off some of the excess. I use the rotary function here. And even coat. It's a little bit of an ugly head, but hey, it's going to catch fish. And you know, I don't really have to do any trimming on this one either. This one turned out pretty good. I like the length that brush is at, and I'm going to roll with it. So use this fly again for bass, but you know, if you tie it in some other colors, you don't necessarily have to do this crayfish color. You could do you could do white, you could do pink, you could do whatever crazy color combo you want to. If you use it for, or if you tie it in an olive pattern, it can be effective for trout as well, as kind of a sculpin-y little attractor pattern. But I really like this fly. I've had good success with it, and I hope you get out on the water and try it out. Thanks for watching.